Hello, my name is Paul Lancaster, and this is the Cyber Operations and Risk Management briefing for CYB 670. This briefing is assigned to us by our Chief Information Security Officer and is designed to inform our CISO and our senior leadership uh, our security posture. We will intel our organization's software needs and expectations, and we will discuss the supply chain risk management portion of the SDLC. We will discuss the vulnerabilities of existing software, and we'll explain supply chain options, recommendations, and the cost of implementing these options or recommendations to our organization. Software assurance is defined as the implementation of technologies that will receive a level of confidence for its intended purpose. Basically, does the software work how we want it to work? Um, there are three categories of software assurance. The first category is trustworthiness. That means that there's no vulnerabilities that exist that can be exploited by a hacker or unintentionally by an administrator. The second is predictable execution. This means that the software will work as its intended purpose. And the last category is conformance. And this is where the software will abide by the rules and regulations of our organizations and provincial and federal laws. Our team has devised up a point system, and each aspect of software assurance should have a minimum score of 20 points. So trustworthiness should have 20 points, predictable execution, and conformance each should have 20 points. Any software below that mark will not be used by our organization. There are 7 stages of the SDLC. The first stage is the planning stage. During this stage, stakeholders will meet up and discuss what software product they want to develop. They'll assign a project manager who will designate specific roles to the members of the SDLC team. This team will be selected for their expertise in the fields of project planning, cost, and how to obtain equipment. The second stage of the SDLC is the requirement stage. During this stage, the project manager will solicit input from all the stakeholders and the customers to determine what capabilities the software needs to cover. The third stage is the design phase or design stage. It's where developers will deploy a prototype version of the software. This prototype is useful because it will give the engineers the ability to fix any bugs or make any adjustments to any new requirements for the software. The fourth stage is the development phase or stage. This is where developers will create the programming that will make the software operate. The fifth stage is the testing stage, where testers will check the software for code quality and that the software will meet customer and stakeholders requirements and to make sure that the code is free of bugs. The sixth stage is the implementation or the deployment stage of the software. This is where developers will check the software to see if it's compatible to many systems. And the last stage is the maintenance stage. This is where the engineers will check or watch the deployed software to detect if any new bugs or defects that are contained with the software exist. Developers will create a bug report to annotate any new bugs and try to correct these issues. There are many supply chain risks that can impact the deployment of new software. The first risk and the main risk is funding. If the project team does not have the appropriate funding, then they can't deploy the software or they will delay the deployment of the software. Software attacks or unwanted manipulation of inventory software can give the project manager and the procurement supervisor the incorrect count of items. This could cause delay in the project if the project team is waiting on production of a particular product. The lack of personnel on the project team could delay the software deployment deadline. And then stakeholders overreach. Basically, if, say, a member of the C-suite of an organization will try to dictate to the project manager what they should do to the software deployment, this could lead to communications issues because the stakeholders are typically not in the weeds, if you will, of the software development team. So this could cause a delay as well in the software uh, deployment. There are plenty of vulnerabilities in existing software that could impact our software deployment. First, since we're a nation state, other nation states or hackers or insider threats uh, could introduce malware in our software deployment process by giving us an incorrect count of the inventory that we have already on hand. The SQL injection attack, basically hackers will inject code on the SQL statement to manipulate our database applications. And then lastly, buffer overflow. Basically, this is a denial of service attack. So what will happen is a program will add a surplus of data into the buffer, and this data will spill into the other data in our database and making the other data unusable. So there are three software needs uh, that must be met for our organization. Any time that we need to purchase software, if approved, we can check the open source market to see if there's an open source piece of software that we could use. Uh, the first software that we should implement is a Security Information Events Management Manager, or SIEM. A SIEM is a tool that will give our organization a real-time security posture. Our team will set baseline parameters into software, and any anomalies that are discovered will be rectified when we will see an alert. SIEMs also provide threat protection, incident response, and log collection. Examples of SIEMs are Splunk, IBM QRadar, Nessus, and LogRhythm, and we choose to use Splunk due to its flexibility. The second tool we need to implement is antivirus software. Antivirus software is designed to prevent, detect, and remove malware from our network. Lastly, an open source tool that we use is Wireshark. It is a network protocol analyzer and lets the analyst see each packet leaving and arriving into the network. This will help our cyber technicians to troubleshoot to the data packet level of the network. There are many options our organization can choose in regards to the supply chain. The first of these options is the continuous flow model. This model is designed where there's very little variables that will happen in the production element. So this is basically for just straight production line uh, pro, uh, input. The fast chain model is used when business must change their products on the fly. The efficiency model typically goes through a continuous audits, usually by Six Sigma, to ensure end-to-end efficiency within the product environment. The agile model is best for businesses that need to order specialty items on a regular basis. The flexible model changes back and forth between high peaks and low periods. This model will be used, the model that we use is the customs configuration model. This model combines both the continuous model and the agile model. This will give our vendors the flexibility of mass producing the same item while having the ability to produce special items. The cost of software implementation into our network does not mean that it's better to go with the free route. Even though Wireshark is free, it is probably the best tool that we could use for our buck. is an outstanding tool that will give our analysts the best interpretation of data that is entering and leaving our network. Splunk is a SIEM that our organization will use that is priced at $2,000 per day at 1 gigabyte a day. This will give our organization 24/7 access to Splunk engineers and customer service representatives if there is ever an issue with their software. Bitdefender is an antivirus solution for large enterprise services that will have a price of $258.99 per year for 10 devices. Vendor accountability should be explicitly listed in any contract. If our vendor uh, does not meet the deadlines of our organization or does not meet the requirements of our software needs, they should be penalized. The contract should list specific deadlines that vendors have to meet, and there should be penalties if the vendors does not delete or does not deliver rather on these deadlines. In conclusion, this briefing was required to educate our CISO and C-suite the SDLC development process. This briefing discussed the SDLC and the SCRM, and we also discussed software options and supply chain options. Thank you.